morning and welcome to the Geelong Cricket Show on this Saturday morning. And yes, it's finals time in some of the areas of our local cricket. Joining me at the table of knowledge this morning, he's certainly looking forward to finals because he'll be playing in them. One and only Tim Michell. Good morning, Tim. All fired up, mate?
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Certainly am excited to get down there to Anglesea today. Just straight out of the studio, though, and heading out to Lara. So certainly a few big road trips ahead of me with the kids also making junior finals, which also kick off today around all of Geelong. So all the best to all the junior cricketers this morning, and then also all the boys out there on the Ballerine that will be undertaking finals action a bit later today.
And our special guest this morning, well, it's taken a lot of courage because he would love to stick this ball right down Rawlins' neck. It's a very warm welcome from the Queenscliff Cooters. Yes, they finished on top of the ladder in A grade in the Ballerine Peninsula Cricket Association. Joe Farrell, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Graham and Tim. Thanks for having me along this morning. Look, I wouldn't go so far to say that I would shove that down your throat, but look, you know, we've just won a few more games than we've lost, and things seem to have fallen in place.
Let's turn our attention to the world of Premier Cricket, and what a culmination to this current season, because Geelong currently sitting in 5th position, playing Footscray Edgewater. They started out 1 for 4 and finished the day all out for 221. Just one short of Richie Beno's 222. And of course the backbone of the innings again was Damien Shanahan with 78 and Alex Stanley with 61. A great performance from Geelong, Tim, fighting their way back into this game against Footscray Edgewater. Footscray Edgewater will resume at 11 o'clock this morning at 2 for 36. Geelong could cast themselves into the top 5.
Yeah, I know I say it a lot on this show, Graham, but the first hour of play normally does have a bearing on the way things go, and I think it is going to have a big impact. Obviously, Geelong will be looking to get another 2 or 3 early wickets there and get right into that Footscray Edgewater batting lineup. They did do extremely well last week to get themselves back to the game. Alex Stanley with a fighting 61, and if you talk to a few of the Geelong boys, you certainly did cop a verbal barrage up there. So batted belying the years that obviously he does have, a little bit inexperienced in terms of first experience. Obviously, he's only played the couple of games in the first 11, Alex Stanley, but batted fantastically last week. Damien Shanahan, the captain coach, just continuing his sparkling form with the bat, and all signs are pretty good for Geelong. I think they should be able to knock Footscray Edgewater over in that one, but won't steal a top 4 berth. Obviously, they were hoping for a few other results to go their way, but it looks like the top 4 are going to claim victories, and Casey South Melbourne already as well have claimed first innings points in their game. So they won't get a home final, but Geelong in some good touch at the moment over the last 3 weeks in Premier Cricket.
And the way Rawlo is making predictions at the present time in Premier Cricket, I think that St Kilda in number 1 position. They'll stay up there. Melbourne in number 2. Ringwood in number 3. Casey South Melbourne, as Tim has already mentioned, first in his points already, will hold on to 4th. Geelong will win and hold on to 5th. But then the big change, because Carlton will jump from 8th to 6th position, and Paran will drop out of the 5, and Fitzroy Doncaster, will drop out of the 8. Fitzroy Doncaster will come into the 8 at the expense of Paran and Frankston Peninsula. So some very exciting changes and prospects in today in Premier Cricket. But as we say every Saturday morning, to Damien Shanahan and his Chargers from Catland, go Cats, have a good win up there at Footscray Edgewater. Turning our attention to the world of Ballerine cricket and the Ballerine Peninsula Cricket Association in the A grade. Well, the top 6 is settled, Tim, and after a great performance last week, even though Rawlo did predict around about Christmas time they wouldn't even make the 6, Queenscliff Cooters have finished on top of the ladder.
Yeah, I think we saw last weekend how tight the Ballerine competition really is. Almost all of the placings in the top 6 came down to percentage, obviously, but unluckily for their sakes, Barrable ended up missing the finals because of percentage, with Port Arlington picking up a healthy boost in their game against Colindina, where they did have an easy win. Joe's boys, Queenscliff, jumped to the top of the ladder because they played so fantastically and had a pretty easy win over Newcombe, jumping ahead of Colindina to claim the minor premiership. But it sets up a really intriguing first weekend of finals, Graham, and one where it is really that tight that the 3 sides that go in finishing 4th, 5th and 6th will fancy themselves to cause a little bit of a boil over, I think, away from home.
Now, viewers, the way the top 6 works is that 1 plays 6, 2 plays 5, 3 plays 4. The 3 winners and the highest graded fourth loser, so the highest graded loser, will then make up the semi-finals for the four teams to play off in the BPCA. Let's have a look at the first one. Queenscliff take on Port Arlington, and this one is going to be played at Queenscliff. The three top home sides getting the home finals. Joe, I'll throw this one to you. Are you confident?
At this stage, I think we're pretty confident. Look, we had a pretty good win over Port Arlington the last time we played them, which was only a few rounds ago. I think it's fair to say that they'll be a lot harder to get on top this time round. You've got Vass there. He's made, just come off a good century, and it's good to see Pudge. He's certainly he made a 50 odd too. So I think they're certainly going to be one of the sleeping giants there that could certainly make an impression in the finals.
Who do you see as the key players, Tim Michell?
Yeah, well, I think, as Joe just said, Damien Vassalou, and I know I've said his name a lot on the show throughout the year, is going to play a massive role, the leading run scorer in the BPCA, and always has a key role in Port Arlington's fortunes. The other one that you have to watch for, got 97 not out, and in a pretty aggressive frame of mind as well against Colindine, is Grant Stevens. If he can fire again with the bat for Port Arlington, then he might end up making a pretty big impression on the way that the result does go in this game. A guy that slots back into Queenscliff lineup that's been making a lot of runs at the top of the order, usually sets a platform for them, is Toby Smith. Look for him to play a pretty big role. And then with the ball as well, a young guy that wouldn't have had too much finals experience, but Ash McDonald's one that normally just gets a little bit of seam early on with the new ball off that Queenscliff wicket, and if he can get things rolling with the ball for Queenscliff, then they might end up rolling through Port Arlington in similar fashion that they did a couple of weekends ago when the two sides met.
Down at Colindina take on Drysdale. Tim, a big game for Colindina.
Yeah, it is, and I think they need to get back to some winning form. Two of the last three games that they've played, they have gone down, Colindina, and ended up losing the minor premiership, which probably a month ago looked to be all theirs and almost sewn up. But the mail that we are hearing is a few of their boys did duck off to a wedding last week, and that was why they only lost the 8 wickets against Port Arlington and did end up going down. So hopefully there'll be a very committed Colindina side that does turn up. They normally play their home wicket pretty well, and I think they'll be spurred on by obviously the finals heartbreak last year of going down in the grand final to Barwon Heads. And I think Drysdale don't enter this final series under the best form either. They were rolled for 160 and beaten by Barrable last weekend. So at home over the weekend's action, I'll be backing in Colindina there to get the points and knock off Drysdale and knock them out in the first week of finals. In
the final, Anglesea take on Barwon Heads, unbiased.
Well, obviously Anglesea have played their home ground fairly well, and I think the key to their chances is their bowling attack. They've been very miserly, keeping sides to about 150 or 160, and if they can manage to do that at home, they'll back themselves to chase that in. They're also with the bat a side that's prided themselves on batting the 75 overs. So a lot might depend on what does happen on the first day. If Barwon Heads do something similar to what they did against Wellington, put a score of 200 plus on the board, then runs in finals always put the pressure on. But who knows, I think we're set for a very tight weekend, Graham, and privileged to have 6 real quality sides playing off in the BPCA finals.
We'll go to a break on the Geelong Cricket Show. I'll be back with more after this.